The film begins with a couple, Simon and Sarah, enjoying a romantic dinner at a restaurant to celebrate Sarah's pregnancy with their first child. While they are busy choosing the menu, Sarah notices strange behavior from an old woman who keeps staring at her from a distance. When Sarah looks away for a moment, the old woman disappears from her table.
I'm so sorry.
It turns out she is now outside the restaurant, staring at Sarah while holding a candle, which she blows out directly in front of Sarah's eyes. After returning home from the restaurant, Sarah begins to feel unusual symptoms in her body. The discomfort intensifies until she eventually vomits.
Good, trying the light.
The next day, while they are on their way to visit a friend, Sarah starts telling Simon about the old woman who stared at her suspiciously the previous night. Since then, she has felt something strange in her body. Simon tries to calm her down, suggesting that the discomfort is most likely caused by the pregnancy, not the old woman. During the trip, Sarah suddenly feels nauseous and asks Simon to pull over for a moment. From a distance, she sees the old woman again, wearing a black dress and staring at her. But once again, as Sarah's gaze is distracted by Simon surprising her, the old woman vanishes without a trace. Simon urges her to get back into the car and they continue their journey. Eventually, they arrive at the home of their old friend, Dustin, who lives with his wife, Melissa. As they gather, they discuss many things, including Sarah's experience of being disturbed by the old woman's gaze. Since the incident, Sarah has felt different, and her body doesn't feel normal. She is convinced that what's happening isn't just pregnancy-related. Dustin and Simon believe it might all be due to stress and pregnancy hormones. However, Melissa, who is known for her sensitivity and knowledge of mystical matters, takes Sarah's words seriously. Melissa understands that there are many negative energies and malicious intentions out there that can affect people. Acknowledging this, Melissa suggests a way to uncover the truth. She proposes they use a Ouija board, a tool to communicate with spirits, to dig deeper into what's happening to Sarah. Along with the Ouija board, they also prepare candles for each person. These candles are lit one by one and serve as detectors. If a spirit comes near, the flame will flicker or even go out. They begin using the Ouija board, attempting to contact the spiritual realm and seek answers about the disturbance surrounding Sarah. However, after some time, there is no sign or response from the board.
Spirit, if you're harassing Sarah, tell us why.
Unbeknownst to them, a terrifying entity is already lurking very close to Sarah, yet its presence is completely invisible to everyone in the room. After waiting for quite some time without any results, they decide to stop the session. Sarah, exhausted from the long journey, chooses to rest in the room Melissa had prepared for her. Meanwhile, Simon and Dustin stay up, spending time chatting and enjoying some liquor. On the other hand, Melissa, who begins clearing the Ouija board and the still-lit candles, is suddenly shocked to see that Sarah's candle has completely burned out. The other 3 candles remain fully intact and burning steadily, even though they were all lit at the same time. This makes Melissa feel that something is not right. How could only Sarah's candle burn out so quickly? She immediately goes to Simon and Dustin to tell them what she just discovered. Melissa is convinced that a malevolent force is trying to harm Sarah. Without wasting time, the 3 of them rush to Sarah's room to check on her. They are stunned to find Sarah sleeping while standing directly in front of the bedroom door. Simon explains that Sarah has never had a history of sleepwalking.
Sarah! I don't think she ever went in the room.
Moments later, Sarah is already lying in bed. Once she's fully conscious, the 3 immediately ask if she has ever experienced sleep disturbances before. Sarah, confused, says she never has. Seeing the concerned expressions on their faces, she asks what's going on. They explain that she stood at the door for hours while asleep. Since it's already late, they agree to discuss it further the next morning. Later that night, after everyone has fallen asleep, Simon suddenly wakes up and sees something strange. Sarah's crucifix necklace floating near the ceiling before falling and hitting him in the face. Shocked and confused, Simon quickly gets up and heads to the bathroom to wash his face, hoping what he saw was just a hallucination caused by fatigue. But as he's washing his face, Sarah suddenly appears behind him, acting very strangely. She becomes aggressive and tries to attack Simon. He quickly shuts the bathroom door in an attempt to protect himself. In the struggle to close the door, one of Sarah's fingers gets caught and is severed. Still in shock, Simon asks what's happening to Sarah and why she suddenly attacked him in such a violent way. Before Simon can process what just happened, the atmosphere around him suddenly turns pitch black, leaving only a faint glow from the match he lights. Simon begins to explore this strange place, not knowing how he got there. Along the way, he is startled by the sudden appearance of Melissa and Dustin. The mood becomes increasingly tense when Dustin unexpectedly pulls out a knife and slashes Melissa's stomach. Terrified, Simon backs away from them. Not far from there, he sees Sarah lying on the floor, surrounded by lit candles. He looks at Sarah's stomach, which has been ripped open, and her unborn baby is gone. It turns out the fetus is now in the hands of the same old woman who appeared at the beginning of the story. The woman is eating their child. All of this is actually happening inside Simon's subconscious. In the real world, Simon's body is experiencing violent seizures. The scene then shifts to the old woman from the beginning, listening to a radio broadcast reporting Simon's death from a heart attack. In the same report, Melissa is found in critical condition with abdominal injuries and is rushed to the hospital, while Dustin survives without any wounds and is now being questioned by the police regarding the bizarre events of that night. However, the biggest mystery is the disappearance of Sarah, the only one not found at the scene. Her whereabouts remain unknown, with only one clue left behind: a severed human finger lying next to Simon's body, believed to belong to Sarah. No one knows that the chaos that struck them all originated from the old woman. She is not an ordinary human, but a witch who deliberately targeted Sarah after discovering she was pregnant. The witch wasn't seeking immortality, but rather a far greater magical power. She believed that a fetus holds the purest energy capable of amplifying her dark magic. From that moment on, the witch began her attack. She used her magic to disturb Sarah's life, filling it with fear, stress, and a growing loss of self-control. The strange behaviors and unexplainable events surrounding Sarah, including the tragedies that befell Simon and Melissa, were all part of the witch's grand plan. She orchestrated everything so that Sarah, in a tormented state and without realizing it, would eventually come to the witch's hiding place on her own. Once the witch successfully lured Sarah into her trap, she immediately took the fetus from Sarah's womb and devoured it. The story then shifts to a young woman named Masha, who happens to be the granddaughter of the witch. She currently lives in a house with her only close friend, Rachel. To most people, Masha is considered strange and hard to understand. Rachel is the only person who truly accepts her for who she is. Having developed a strong sense of trust, Masha begins to open up and reveals her family's secret to Rachel. She comes from a lineage of witches, and her grandmother, now 93 years old, is gravely ill. Masha knows that when her grandmother dies, the witchcraft she possesses will be passed down to her. It's a heavy burden, but also a destiny she must face. Hearing about Masha's family history, Rachel, feeling uncomfortable, tries to change the subject by talking about her ex-boyfriend, who was extremely possessive. Her ex used to control every aspect of her life, from constantly checking her phone to following her wherever she went. His behavior made Rachel feel trapped and uneasy, so she ultimately decided to end the relationship for the sake of her freedom. The next day, Masha visits Rachel's workplace. She's greeted by the receptionist, who informs her that Rachel isn't around. Instead of leaving, Masha casually chats with the receptionist and starts talking about Rachel's past with her ex-boyfriend, a story that was deeply personal and had never been shared with anyone at the office. The gossip spreads quickly through the workplace. Soon, Rachel's colleagues are whispering behind her back, creating a tense and uncomfortable environment. When Rachel returns from lunch, she realizes that many people know her personal secret. It doesn't take long for her to find out that Masha was the one who leaked the story. Feeling betrayed, Rachel returns home filled with disappointment and anger. She confronts Masha, accusing her of sharing her private story without permission. Deeply hurt, Rachel gives Masha a deadline to leave the house. By Christmas, Masha must be gone. Rachel plans to visit her mother for the holiday, and when she comes back, she doesn't want to see Masha in her home anymore. Nightfall arrived without notice. As Masha slept, she suddenly had a vision of her grandmother, who had just passed away. In that moment, Masha became possessed, marking the transfer of her grandmother's magical powers to her. Curious and eager to test her newfound abilities, Masha decided to attend a Christmas party hosted at a local resident's house. Coincidentally, Dustin and Melissa were also present at the party, still grieving Simon's death. As the crowd thinned out, Masha suddenly turned aggressive and attacked a female guest in the bathroom while whispering strange incantations. Dustin, who happened to overhear her, was shocked. The chant was identical to the one he had heard from Sarah the night she vanished. Suspicious and unwilling to let Masha walk away, Dustin confronted her and demanded to know how she learned that incantation. A commotion broke out, and Dustin was eventually dragged out of the party for causing a scene. Outside, he told Melissa what he had heard from Masha. An incantation repeated word for word, just like the one Sarah spoke before she disappeared. As they were about to head home, tragedy struck. Melissa was suddenly hit by a car and killed instantly. It was no accident. Her death was caused by Masha, who felt wronged by Dustin's accusations. That same night, following the deadly Christmas party, Masha showed up at Rachel's mother's house, holding a gift. When the door opened, Rachel's mother initially thought it was Rachel, but it wasn't. Masha introduced herself as Rachel's friend and mentioned that they lived together. Naturally, Rachel's mother was confused. When she asked where her daughter was, Masha claimed Rachel might be out with her boyfriend, Charlie. That answer raised red flags, especially as Masha's manner of speaking seemed increasingly bizarre. Despite her doubts, Rachel's mother let her in.
I have been trying to reach her.
As Masha sat in the living room, she asked Rachel's mother to open the gift she had brought. Feeling uneasy, Rachel's mother tried to call her daughter but got no answer. She went to the kitchen to retrieve a knife she had hidden in her clothes for protection, then returned to Masha, who kept insisting the gift be opened. Eventually, Rachel's mother gave in and opened the gift, only to find a rabbit inside with the name tag, Rachel. Unbeknownst to her, Masha had used her magic to turn Rachel into a rabbit as punishment for being kicked out of the house. At first, Rachel's mother didn't believe the story and planned to call the police because of Masha's disturbing behavior. But to prove the rabbit was indeed Rachel, Masha killed it, then used her magic to return Rachel to her original form. Seeing her daughter's lifeless body, Rachel's mother screamed in horror. She ran to the garage to call the police, but Masha killed her using magic before she could make the call. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Charlie had arrived. Masha overpowered him with her magic, tying him up on a bed and rendering him paralyzed. Moments later, the bell rang again. This time it was Dustin who had discovered Masha's involvement in Melissa's death. Without hesitation, he punched Masha, doused her in gasoline, and set her on fire. Everything happened so quickly that Masha didn't have time to use her powers to fight back. Covered in burns, Masha suddenly woke up in her grandmother's house, surrounded by several witches who had saved her. Her grandmother's body lay in a chair nearby. Using their magic, the witches began healing Masha's burns. The final scene shows Sarah, who had been missing all this time, finally being found by the police and brought to the station for questioning. When a detective asks her what happened, Sarah calmly replies that a witch ate her baby. Suddenly, the lights in the room go out, creating a tense and eerie atmosphere. The detective panics, but Sarah begins to laugh as the ghostly figure of Masha's grandmother appears, standing directly behind him, and the story ends.